I can do my dance while they do that, keep entertaining you while we're trying to get you. And when you're ready, you tell me. I'm good? Perfect. All right, okay. Great to be with you. I'm a member of PATA, and I've been working very closely with PATA for many, many years. And in Bournemouth University, we've established the chapter last year, and I've worked a lot with Mario, who had just, I think he retired from PATA, or he moved on. And a lot of the things on smartness, we've been discussing a lot with Mario in the last few years. So it's great for you that you're committing and you're part of the PATA family, because it's a great opportunity to engage with many, many people. So without further ado, in the last year, I spent quite a lot of time doing the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. And I think that includes a whole range of things that you should be reading. And that's my promotional thing. Please read that. And also I'm editor-in-chief of the Tourism Review. And again, we're bringing the cutting edge stuff on tourism. So 2019, beautiful year, right? The life was sweet. I don't believe on over-tourism. Over-tourism does not exist. But anyway, a lot of people were talking about over-tourism. And we had situations like that. It was lovely. We were in Bali with Bob MacArthur, Kate on, Brian. You can recognize many faces there. And we had a big academy meeting. And it was wonderful. Just before I went there, I went to London. That was a very long trip that I did. I went to London, Greece, Dubai, Orlando, London, Bali, Jakarta, London in 2 weeks. And it was phenomenal. We keep going back. Okay, we had all these beautiful experiences. Life was sweet. And this is the Chaka dance at the seaside. And this is, I took everybody to my friend's Varung on the beach, and everybody was dancing, and I couldn't believe that. I met a guy who had this Varung in 95, and I took everybody back after 25 years, and everybody was dancing, and I've got other pictures that they're quite incriminating. And again, we finished. People talk about over-tourism, and quite often they talk about Santorini because they see a lot of people and they don't like a lot of people, right? We should not have a lot of people. But sometimes we're overdoing it, and especially places like that. And, you know, you're seeing some of these things. Is this over-tourism or is that badly managed tourism? It's badly managed tourism. Okay. Over-tourism does not exist. It's badly managed tourism. But of course, that creates problems. Tourists, your luxury trip, my daily misery. Okay, a lot of people are kind of looking back and say, this isn't tourism, it's an invasion. So quite often, tourism has got bad impacts. And 2019, a lot of people were talking about these things. So in 2019, we were quite happy to have a lot of tourists around because of the economic benefits and everything else, but some people were kind of suffering. It's all about which way you look at it. The way I look at it is that tourist management and marketing has failed to actually do a proper planning, development, and management job. But we had fantastic opportunities to do things. And then you've got COVID. And then COVID hit, and everything was absolutely horrible. We've been seeing all these things. We've seen the statistics, and it's all horrible stuff. And of course, all that's numbers until your sister dies. My sister died on the 7th of September while I was on quarantine in Hong Kong. And of course, I couldn't go back to Greece to go to her funeral. And of course, everything then hits you because it's not the numbers. It's really what's happening. It's a war. And in every war, there's a lot of damage that's happening in the background. The good thing with, no, don't do that. Mr. Jerry normally does that. Thank you. And of course, the other thing that becomes evident is that COVID is very much economics related. Because if you're a rich country, you've got vaccines. But if you're not a rich country, you cannot afford the vaccines and you don't have vaccines. And we're going to have a big problem because if we do not vaccinate the poorer countries, that will be a major, major problem. So what has happened now, we are looking at the high-income countries are ahead of vaccinations because they had. Israel went out and they got all the vaccines and they vaccinated everybody. Yeah, Canada, UK, US. But when you start looking at India and some of the other countries, it's become much more complicated. So economics play a big role on how we're going to get out of this. Look the difference. This is January. So I'm learning to use January 5th, 2020, May 5th, 2020. And most of the planes were flying empty so they can keep the slots. Okay. When I came to Hong Kong on the 29 arrival of August, there were 17 passengers and 24 crew on the flight. 17 passengers and 20. So as you can understand, the industry has lost incredible amount of money and we're suffering. In 2020, it was eventually minus 74% or 1.1 billion tourists. We've never suffered. For 20 years, you see the tourism was growing beautifully. There are two things when it had a little drop. That's SARS with 0.4%, and then the economic crisis in 2009, where it had minus 4%, but for 20 years, tourism was growing beautifully. Now, some of you will say, yeah, but that was creating over tourism, but I'll say that, look, if you don't have tourism, you have got major problems. And you can see on the WTO dashboard that different regions actually had different effects. And it's quite interesting that to see Asia and Pacific, year to year, it went minus 95% because of the restrictions that that China, Hong Kong, and a lot of different places have actually implemented. You've got much, much higher restrictions and therefore more impact. Having said that, a lot of the Chinese tourism is domestic tourism. So domestic tourism was not affected. So when we're looking at the statistics, we really need to look into what has happened because staycation happened and big countries were able to move people around. So in Bournemouth had 2 fantastic years because a lot of people were coming from England. They were not going to other places. They were coming to Bournemouth for holidays. Okay. Whether they had a good time or not, that's another question. But one of the hotels I'm collaborating with had for the first time charged £750 per night for a room that they normally charge 150 because the demand went like that. They were hoping that people will cancel because immediately, so they will cancel a room that was already paid for £120, and then the price had gone to £300, £400. So immediately they were double or tripling their money. So it's unbelievable. There was a weekend where the weather was very good and a lot of people went to Bournemouth. And one of my hoteliers, the Miramar Hotel, lost £20,000 worth of bookings, of cancellations. And I said to them, are you sad about it? And they said, no. Because in the next 3 days, we got £50,000 worth of bookings for the same rooms that they would just cancel because the prices went up. So when you're looking at the impacts, you really need to look in geographically and what has happened in different places. But you can see what has happened in different continents. You can see Americas because they didn't close and Trump was a little bit crazy. But they had so many thousands of people who died. I think they've got more than 700,000 people who died in the US. So it's kind of, you're looking into those things. Right, the world is suffering. The world is suffering bad. And you know that we've all been suffering from this thing. And I like that, and that makes me really sad. No tourists, no food. That is Ubud in Bali. And I know a lot of my good friends in Bali. They had to move towards the north of the island and start doing agricultural stuff in order to survive. Okay, and that's everywhere the same. Elephants in Thailand had problems because they didn't have food. Kenya, the same thing. All the big safaris had major impacts. No food, no tourists, no food. This is the Cairns Tupakai Aboriginal Cultural Center in Australia. I spent some time with them. They were closed forever because of lack of tourists. Now, these are some of the predictions. We're going up. And the three strategies right now, one of the strategies is that we're going to open no matter what. We've given vaccinations to people. We've told them what to do. We've told them to keep distances. We've got more flexible travel arrangements and working arrangements. The economy cannot afford anything else. So we live with COVID. That's the UK, Europe kind of approach. There's the China approach. From what I understand, until the Olympics, China is not opening. So zero case strategy. And there's another strategy, which India and Brazil, which is we don't care, anything is going to happen, it's going to happen. We'll see. Now, I spent a lot of time in the last 2 years talking to people around the world, and a lot of time working with Greece, helping people to understand what's happening and prepare for what was happening, because they spent a lot of time being on denial. They said, it cannot happen to me. We are not going to be in a position to actually stop tourism. We had economic problems before. We cannot afford more. And I said, excuse me, mate, you don't have a choice. It's a matter of when the plane is going to crash, how can we minimize the impact? But a lot of people were kind of, they were living in denial. So I said, look, we need to have humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience. And for the first time ever, we had the industry working very, very closely with communities to demonstrate humanity and solidarity to our communities. And I said, look, it's not about what people can do for tourism, because in the beginning, a lot of tourism companies were coming out and said, what can you do for me? Can you give me subsidies? Can you give me that, and the other? I said, it's not about what community can do for tourism. It's about what tourism can do for community. And I'm very proud of a lot of things that have happened. So this restaurant in London called Panas, they donated 100,000 meals to key workers, to hospitals, to people in need. So this little restaurant donated 100,000 meals. And there are a lot of examples around the world of solidarity and actually supporting tourism, supporting communities through different things. And these guys, you know, this is Lord Below Moria, who has got the beer in England. But these guys, they raise to the challenge and they support the community. And I'm very, very proud of them. Now, after, do you have the picture, Mr. Jerry, or do you want another? All right. Okay, after a storm, there is a rainbow. We're just about going out of this. It's going to be slower than a lot of people anticipate. And the reason that it's going to be slower is because not everybody has been vaccinated. There are some idiots who do not believe on the vaccines. And there are also a lot of countries around the world, in third world countries, that they don't have the means to get vaccinated. That will delay us. Okay. But where we're going is to smart and agile tourism and resilience. And I've been talking to a lot of people about the Agenda 2030. Now, before we go that, I'll entertain you a little bit. I got my first vaccine, and then I got my second vaccine, and you can see the eyes. I'm gonna travel now. And of course, off I'm going. And all I wanted was Greece. I haven't been to Greece for about 2 years. And then I was going around being crazy. And then should we play this video? Yeah, let's play this video.
It's okay. Look,
I love this video.
I'm going to see you soon, okay? Love you.
Is that you, Mum? It's a younger version of me. Mum, can we go to Disneyland?
I've been on my own for a minute. Is it only me out here searching for the place to begin? Is it me? Is it you? Is it me?
Bloody expired.
So where are you headed? Singapore for a wedding. Taking the kids to Disneyland Resort.
London. Going to see someone very special to me.
Hey guys.
Have fun, you two. Try and stop us. Ah, that's the spirit.
'Cause I had a dream that someday I would just fly away.
Here comes the bride. I've got just the place.
So I had to
Gorgeous.
dream that I'd just fly away, away.
Watch the sky, Jimmy. We're going to take off.
What would take me off?
And I always knew I couldn't stay.
We'll be there soon.
So I had a dream that I'd just fly away.
Reminds us why tourism is important. Because we kind of think that tourism is about indulging, just traveling, right? But it's much more important than that, because we're doing all kinds of things when we're traveling. And this Qantas thing was absolutely wonderful. So here I am in Naxos Island, having some wonderful times. You can take that picture because the Naxos people are looking at me, and I always keep telling them, why did I go to Naxos? There was a clue early on. Can you see this? This is the temple of Apollo. It's the Portara, it's the big door. And of course, I had to go and close the encyclopedia from the place. So it was a journey of about 450 days. And I went there as a paying respect to God Apollo, but also closing the encyclopedia on place. So spot this and spot this. Okay, I've tried to be at exactly the same spot, but it was not possible, but I had a glass of wine and everything was fine. Okay, and then I was going around and I met various people, including this guy called George, and he's creating this kind of cheese. Who likes cheese? This is the best cheese that's coming from Naxos. Okay, remember this name, Babounis, and remember this Arsenico. It's male cheese, they call it. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. So I went to buy some cheese, and I said, if I buy a lot of cheese, would you give me a special price? And he turned around and said, look, if you were here this time last year, it was only me and my wife, and we're looking at Portara on the other side, and we had no customers, and we didn't know what we were going to do in the winter because we had absolutely no money. I ended up buying 6 kilos of cheese. I couldn't carry it, but anyway, because all these communities are actually so desperate to have tourism back, and you don't really realize it. You think about the airlines, you think about the hotels, you think about the big guys, but actually this guy and his family were suffering. They're just creating, I don't know how much cheese they create per year, but because there are no tourists on the islands, they were not selling their cheese. They didn't have sufficient food for the winter. Really, really tough. So for those of you who know about the encyclopedia came out, and I spent quite a lot of time trying to build all my thinking and the 2 million words that they went into the encyclopedia and get in one framework. And I think that's a framework that does it. So this is the tourism system from Neil Lippier: travel generating region, tourism destination region, and the tourism system, right? And the transit region. Here you've got the mediation, you've got information communication, you've got transportation, and you've got accessibility. So this is now much more elaborate because we cover a whole range of other things that they were not there before. Okay, I bring accessibility for people that are with disability and for people with special needs through inclusion. And then what I'm saying is that on the one side, you've got resources that are coming to the system, and then these resources are processed here, and they create value for the different stakeholders. This is the basis of everything we do in tourism. But then this is not enough. We need to look into the pyramid that the tourism system operates on top of it. So here you've got planning and management. And we need to understand resources, inventory, and all of the other things that we are operating out there, and to see how we can plan and manage the resources. Otherwise, if we don't do it properly, we end up with over-tourism, we end up with problems, we end up with conflicts, and we don't want that. Then you've got market forces, where we need to understand how different stakeholders will come together to co-create value. And that's really, really important. Then we've got exogenous variables to understand what is actually determining what we're doing and how we operate. And then you've got the technology and the infrastructure that we were talking yesterday, where everything is coming together and operates together. And the infrastructure creates the network or supports the network and the ecosystem to work efficiently. If we don't have the technology, this doesn't work efficiently and the whole thing collapses because it's not competitive, right? So here you've got big data, you've got all the artificial intelligence, everything's coming in here. And on top of that, you're looking into what's happening in the external environment. Then you look into the market forces and then say, what can I do about it? What's the management strategy? What's the marketing strategy? What's the planning we need to do for this to maximize the efficiency and operational support and support the operations of all that. Now, if you'd like to read about 20 pages, and I think anybody who is in tourism should actually read these 20 pages, you can download from there or go to the publisher. And I think gradually the things that they uploaded, but the encyclopedia will be released in August of 2022. But in the meanwhile, I couldn't really wait. So I've uploaded that there so you can have a look if you like, and I suggest that you do like. So 2030 is coming very fast. It's only 7 years away. 8 years, how many? 8 years away. And time flies, and we need to kind of start planning and understanding what we're going to do. When I say 2030, people think that's very far away. It's not. It's only 8 years away. And by 2030, we should achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And there's a whole range of things there that tourism is very, very critical. Normally, people concentrate on 3 or 4 of them, but there's not a single one of them where tourism is not having a big contribution. Now, the big benefit of COVID for tourism, you know what it is? We have one very big benefit. Tourism became center to all the government agendas globally. For the first time, prime ministers are talking about tourism. For the first time, international organizations are looking into tourism and travel, and they're saying, oh my God, that's important. Up to that point, they thought some people are traveling, okay, go away and do it. When you put together tourism, travel, transportation, all these ecosystems together, you just realize how important it is. It has never been so important. And that's why I'm almost every day I'm giving an interview to someone how we are going to be able to go back and restart. This is my hero, Steve Jobs. And it says creativity is just connecting things. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We really need to start looking at some interesting things. I'll put this picture there because you see this? You see it live. So that was my first computer in 1987. It's all about connecting things. Yes, that's me for a second year of university. So we need to reignite tourism, and we need to develop competitive advantage for destinations through differentiation. We need to enhance the reputation and develop the destination image. We need to nurture the business models through innovations and investments, and we need to optimize the resources. What is important is that we need to focus on the benefits of residents. Now, if you see the reference, you see when this, so this reference, this is in fact my master's thesis. And this is the most cited paper in tourism. But it doesn't say anything extraordinary. It says the obvious, right? Differentiate the strategy, create the strategy, differentiate the destination, manage your business models, optimize your resources. You remember the tourism system I said earlier on, and create benefits for residents, because actually residents own the resources locally, right? So we need to do that. We have a bad tendency in tourism. We keep looking on the mirror, and we think that we're going to manage by looking back. Yeah, this is the way I've always been doing this. And you keep hearing that. And a lot of people in tourism, they kind of came into tourism through a career that they started quite young and innocent, and then they went through the ranks. I'm like that. I started as an assistant waiter when I was 12. But then I moved. A lot of people do not. They just look back and they say, this is what we're going to be doing. I think we are looking at the end of the planning and the beginning of agility. Because the long-term decision making right now, it's 2 weeks. So in order to make decisions in 2 weeks, in order to actually operate the system in 2 weeks, you need a very different way of operating than what we used before. In the past, we had about a year to plan what's going to happen next year. This is what we've done. Next year, I'll do a little bit better. And this is what. Now you've got 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, everything changes. And that created a very different mindset of how people operate. Now, we're very blessed because the assets are still there. The beauty of the place, the product, the branding, the co-creation is still there. Those things have not gone away. So it's a war, but hasn't destroyed that. Now, the question is, of course, what's going to happen with the assets? Because now a lot of companies are looking to these assets. A lot of investors are looking at these assets. Do I go back? No. So what we need is smart tourism. And smartness takes advantage of interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer process and data in order to produce innovative services, products, and procedures towards maximizing value for all the stakeholders. This re-engineering enables shaping products, actions, processes, and services in real time. That's important, the real time, in engaging with stakeholders. So when you have the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, you've got big data, you've got your exogenous variables changing constantly. What you need to do is you really need to play in real time with your data and have decision support systems that they help you develop decisions instantly. And that's difficult. That's really difficult. Now, we have all the information, but the information is held in different silos, left, right, and center, right? And nobody really wants to connect those information because information is power. So if I keep this to myself and you don't know it, I'm trying to have some power, right? Wrong, because what's going to happen is that we need to share the information very quickly in order to be able to move things very, very quickly. So it needs to have networks that are interoperable and interconnected through the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything, through sensors and beacons. We collect information and we send things out. We have big data and data analytics. We've got social media, Web 2, and user-generated content, and all of those things are helping us to co-create, collaborate, co-create, and create excellence for everybody who is involved. Now, when I talk about smartness, people are thinking technology. It's not about technology. It's so much more than that. So it's not about automation. It's not about automation. It's not about information technology. It's not about digitization. It's not about evolution. It's not about social media. It's not about reservation. All of those things, but provides the glue to interoperable and interconnected networks that they are mutually beneficial. This is really the difficult bit here. That we need real-time dynamic and adaptive systems that they provide customized, individualized, contextualized value and improve the collective competitiveness of all the stakeholders. This is fundamentally different to what we teach and what we do, because we always teach people to have one organization to improve my performance. How can I improve my occupancy? How can I improve my revenue? How can I maximize my situation? When you're trying to optimize the network, it becomes much more complicated. And I think this is the benefit of what we'll see in the future. Optimization of networks, where the whole destination need to operate together with all the stakeholders and maximize the value for everybody. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna go a little bit faster, but this is something that we've done with Daisy Fun, about when the customer goes out, how do they communicate on the face-to-face when you go out and you talk to people at the destination, but also on the online social contact, because what you see now is that people going around, they communicate online, they download information, and at the same time they speak to people, but they get access to all kinds of resources. And in the past, we used to be quite bad at actually cheating the tourists, talking to tourists, because we assume that they have the knowledge, but now they've got the knowledge and they've got access to all the information in real time from wherever. So we created a typology of different smart tourists, from those people who are very connected to digital detox tourists, and people like myself that are dual zone travelers. Now, coming to Hong Kong, I'm a triple zone traveler because I've got a life in Europe, I've got a life in Hong Kong, in Asia, and then it's online and offline. It's kind of, I'm going schizophrenic, but never mind. And of course, the big data we're trying to kind of categorize all the big data, and we've done a paper on big data empowered agility for dynamic, volatile, and time-sensitive service industries. Because big data in our industry cannot wait. When you're using big data to make decisions, when you're talking about big data, you're thinking about something's going to happen, I'll collect all this data, I'll make a decision. In our kind of situation, is this flight going to go or not? And if it goes, should they merge two flights or not? And what's the impact of this? Economic impact. Okay. If the weather is going to change in one place, what am I going to do with people? So there was a flight that came here during the typhoon and was diverted to Taiwan, stayed in Taiwan. People could not get off the plane because of the restrictions. They stayed on board for 78 hours before they were allowed to be here. So all these decisions are real time with real people, which is really different and difficult from different organizations. So we'll see a lot of smart solutions, from sharing economy, autonomous vehicles, drones, artificial intelligence, big data, real time. But what I'm really excited about is now. I'm really excited about now and nowness and real time, because that is changing everything we do. So to understand real time, we'll get location-based services, we'll get mentions, hashtags, sentiment analysis, trending topics, keywords, and competitors. And all of these things are going to bring us to nowness. And nowness is data-driven, consumer-centric, experience-enhanced, real-time co-creation. This is when things are becoming really, really sexy, because we are going to understand what's happening in all our environments in real time and make decisions. And in the past, for those of you who have studied strategy and Porter, we used to have price advantage or differentiation advantage, right? Now I'm saying that we've got instant gratification and real-time advantage, because it doesn't matter if it's cheaper, it doesn't matter if it's different. What matters is that you've got a solution to your problem now. Okay. And I think that is what is going to change the whole thinking, not only in tourism, but in a lot of things. It's really getting the right information to the right person and provide to design services that can be delivered just in time to the right person at the right time at the right place. And I think that will bring our competitiveness. This is based on real-time triggers. Something trigger a change of conditions, and then immediately the contextual relevance is changing, the nowness is changing, and then you've got a range of service enablers that they change the value that we are co-creating. It's like a neural system. If I do that to myself, something goes, oh, I don't like that. If I do that, something goes in a different way. And that triggers mechanisms that we deal with things. This is what's going to happen in tourism. Ambient intelligence are going to introduce smart systems to everyday environments, propelling interconnectivity and interoperability of all the systems. Through artificial intelligence, machine learning, ambient connectivity, and all of those things with autonomous vehicles and robotics. All of those things will be coming together. And I think by 2030, we'll be operating those things together. Consumers going in the middle. We've got the Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, 5G, 6G eventually, RFID, mobile devices, apps, cryptocurrencies, sensors, pervasive computing, gamification, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. All of those things co-creating value in real time. And that is something that's going to be quite complex. Now, how long have I got? Until 8 o'clock. Okay, that's fine. So I've created some time ago the 2030 vision, which has got many A's and should be anthropocentric, so focus on people, and needs to be agile. And then you've got the consumer bits need to be authentic, adventurous, and aspirational. It needs to be digital ecosystems that they are through ambient intelligence, autonomous, and augmented. Needs to have sustainable development through atmospheric, architecture, and adventurous. Needs to have industry competitiveness through alliance, aggregation, amalgamation. Those things will be changing because they're fundamentally different to what we're doing before. Before was, how can I maximize my benefit? How can I charge you more money, right? How can I get value from you to me? I think what's becoming different is how we are bringing anthropocentric value through agility to share the value that is available around in the marketplace. And I think that the SDGs will be driving a lot of these things. And I think what's really, really critical is we'll have intelligence in the middle. That's the 5 I's. We'll have inclusive services, innovation, internationalization, and inspiration. And everybody else, all the stakeholders will be around there to actually manage the intelligence. So when you look into inspiration, you'll see the customer journey, and we'll be going through from experience, engage, personalize, individualize, contextualize throughout the customer journey in real time to make sure that you're providing satisfying value. And also you look into specific market segments like the aging. So all the different market segments. When you're looking to innovation, you look into innovation radar, and you look not only on the product and process, but you look on the customers and you look in the presence and distribution. And again, you need to be innovative across the whole range of the radar. Inclusiveness is all about bringing everybody together to enjoy value. And then again, you look at these pictures and you understand that it's not about providing equal things, but provide justice things. It's giving everybody the opportunity to actually enjoy what we're doing in the best possible way. And that includes race, it includes ability, disability, career state, sexual orientation, aging, and senior citizens. And internationalization in terms of research, impact, staff, students, and industry, all of those things coming together. So the vision is intelligence and agility. And the vision is look into how anthropocentric value co-creation, empathy and community engaged, stakeholders dialogue and progress, innovation, inspiration-driven, technology-empowered, connected and agile in real time, entrepreneurship and holistic, globally aware and focused, always evolving, forever innovating. This is really, really, really interesting. Always evolving, forever innovating, and everything remains better. So everything is always under construction. Because in the past, we'll kind of do something and we'll go home and enjoy it, but now we are not. So all that will be driven by emotional intelligence, and robotics will be there. This is in Hangzhou 2 years ago. And this is the very interesting example of this lady being emotionally unintelligent, and the waiter cutting Mr. Jerry out. You can see evidence one. But so humans are not always intelligent, because quite often they tell me, oh, the computer does not understand me. And I said, look, humans do not always play clever. And this is my friend in K11 who is following, and this is the best robots that they're doing. They give you something, a little dance to thank you for what you did. I'll spend the rest of the year going back to this restaurant to see this lady dancing like the robots on the K11. Okay. If I had... But it's not only about technology. This is the best thing that has happened to me in Hangzhou. The Hangzhou Blossom Water Museum Hotel, what a name. Dear Professor Buhalis, that you will speak tomorrow in order to better protect your throat, I've specially prepared for you a candy. This is the kind of the smartest thing that's ever happened to me. It's like my mother taking care of me. And this lady, I don't know where she found the information, but she knew everything. Hotel Icon some years ago, we did a love to care strategy, and we were getting together and we're talking to everybody. And that's the picture. I asked them to go around and take a picture of what really made them so special. And we did a quick photo competition, and that picture won the prize. And you know why? Because this guy was running to protect this kid. It was raining, and as the kid came out of the shuttle bus, he ran out. He didn't have to do it. He could kind of pretend that he never saw the kid. But this makes a difference. And this is the smart thing. It's anticipation of need and covering the need in real time. It's not about technology. Technology helps us to understand all these things, but this is about care and love. Okay. So I know I've gone quickly through a lot of things. You'll find a lot of publications on Google Scholar, but some of the publications I've used are listed on this list. Have a look, have some fun, and have a look on my latest book on gamification for tourism, because it brings some of these things. Thank you, Mungoy. I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Buhalis.
You had these phones. Kind of.
Sorry.
Oh, thank you so much. I thought Mr. Jerry was difficult, but you're okay. That's good.
I want the online audience to see.
Yes, you've
all the
managed. I
time.
haven't wandered around with the microphone. Thank you so
Sorry.
much. So clever.
So we will have a very short question and answer session. So we will give the priority to the people here. So if you have any questions, please feel free. It's the best timing to raise any questions.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Professor Buhalis. I found very interesting your the model of the tourism pyramid of sustainable tourism, sustainable system. But since I come from developing country, I come from Colombia. I found this model very interesting for the application into my country, and I'm wondering if. Regarding your experience, do you think this applicable to different exogenous factors, and where there is a country where people cannot even being feed, where there are extremely high levels of corruption, and where the big players ally with the government, leaving aside the small players. So I'm wondering, and there are hundreds of others different factors that affect, of course, tourism.
The model is actually you can adjust the model to your needs and your requirements. And in every single country, there are issues one way or another that they are affecting these things. So I'll give you an example from your country, right?
Yeah.
Medellin, right? So they've changed everything, the new transportation system, going up on the hill, bringing the music in, bring the kids down, reduce the issue from the favelas, comunas, whatever you call them, and making sure that crime is coming down, corruption goes down, and things like that. This is a situation you've got there. So the model can be, you can create the parameters on the model to say, okay, if you go to the comunas, you need to go with the people that they know what they're doing in order to bring income into the comunas. Okay. But in order to do that, there are those conditions. You then go to the comunas leaders and you say, look, if you would like income to come to your communities, you really need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And we are controlling, we're looking all the factors to actually address that particular situation. In every single situation, there are different things, but what you do is you're looking to, what are my factors in Medellin? What are my factors in Madrid? What are my factors in Hong Kong? What are my factors in Guilin? And trust me, in every single place, there are different factors that are affecting the tourism system. The trick is to understand in depth what's happening. You need to understand what are the catalysts of change, and you need to understand how you can actually manage all the different stakeholders in the best possible way. I'll give you another example. Probably 25 years ago, I went to Belfast, Northern Ireland. And everybody was saying, okay, Professor, can you bring us tourists here, please? And I said, why would someone come to Belfast? At that time, it was IRA killing people. The only thing you could see was fights every day on the newspapers, on the television. I said, this is adventure tourism. And I said, the only thing that you can do is you can try to explain what are the conflicts and what are the troubles in Northern Ireland. And they said to me, are you crazy? We would like to go to the countryside and see the people go hiking, people go playing golf. I said, they will not. They'll go to Wales, they'll go to another place. Just make sure that you involve the communities. I know it's painful, it's troubles. It was all kinds of things on the background. 3 years later, they established 4 companies with buses that they're going around, they're showing people where the troubles were happening. What I could see on my television every day, I could see it live. We could see all the murals and everything, all the paintings that they've got in Belfast, and start getting involved. That brought pacification into Belfast. Now, you know, in Brazil, they're doing pacification different. So in every single place, there are conditions that we need to address. And the model is actually addressing that, because what the model says is that, look, there are the things that we need to establish and we need to look at. And kind of, it kind of structures your mind to say, we need to address those things, whatever those things are. And Colombia is not unique, eh? Trust me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have any more questions? How about online audience? If you have any questions, just feel free to type in the chat box. We have time.
Hi, I have one question.
Oh, okay.
Go for it.
Fantastic presentation, Professor Buhalis. I just wanted to say hi to everyone online and physically in the room. It's nice to have these hybrid events.
Would you like to say who you are?
There were a lot of topics. Excuse me?
Please say who you are so we know who you are.
So my name is Vasilis Papavasiliou, and I was a student at SHTM. So currently I'm in Cyprus. So I do a number of things. So apparently I'm just touring around, tourist at the moment, and also teaching. And I wanted to ask, because of all of this information that you just gave us, you always talk about not believing in over-tourism, and it's all about managing a specific destination. So we had this latest case, well, it was about to happen actually, about Venice, and now they're introducing this fee when you want to visit Venice. I think it's 10 euros if you're not staying for a night. So what is your interpretation about this management tactic? I mean, they're not using technology, for example, in order to manage tourism, or perhaps other destinations. Let's just say an example, Cyprus, and how can they use technology in order to manage tourism? Or basically, I think one of Cyprus's aims at this moment is order to bring quality tourism. This is a buzzword that's we've been hearing for quite some time. So I would like to hear some of your insights about this.
Okay, let's go step by step. First of all, when you're trying to manage resources, you need to understand what's your inventory of resources, and when the resources are under constraint. This is when you start needing big data, and you start looking into information about what exactly is happening. Because it may be that you've got 2 months per year where you've got very high seasonality and you've got a lot of people in one place. And then you can use pricing strategies to change that. You can bring incentives. I love Disneyland because it's the best managed destination in the world. If you've got a lot of people waiting to do a ride, what they do, they bring a train out, they take people and they take them somewhere else. So where are you based in Cyprus, Vasilis?
Limassol.
Limassol, okay. So if you're going to the port in Limassol and there are so many people and they're having a bad experience, you may as well give them other things at the back of the house, you know, just up in different neighborhoods, and actually get them out to explore different things. And you need to tell people, you know, between 7 and 9, it will be a lot of people on the port in Limassol. Can you please go somewhere else and actually create an attraction? Maybe music, maybe festival, maybe something else that's happening something else. This is what Disney is doing, and they're doing it very, very well, right?
I think now Disney, sorry to interrupt, for example, in Hong Kong, I heard that they have been introducing new pricing strategies, different prices depending on
the same thing applies to Venice. You know, when I go to Venice, I know what time to avoid and where to go. So if at 11 o'clock, people are hitting the train station, and then between 11 and 1 o'clock, they end up in Piazza San Marco, right? And between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it's really, really bad in Piazza San Marco. I go to Zattere, I go to other places. at that time. I come back to Piazza San Marco after 6 o'clock because I know the destination. So smartness will say, look, this is really currently, it's really, really bad. Look, guys, I'm an old guy, right? Now we've got all the technology. Now I can tell you when it's the next bus that's going from there to Central, and I can tell you with an accuracy of 10 minutes, of 3 minutes, you know? I got my first mobile phone when I was 30. Please don't complain, right? Because we've got all the tools out there to manage these things. The fact that we choose not to use them at the detriment of different people is something that we need to address. Because
Yes,
we've
that
got
was my
so
next
much
question.
information. Google is telling me, I was on the island on Saturday, and I was going to some squares, and Google was telling me how busy the square was. Why? Because they've got real-time data that's coming back, and it's coming down already. So what I'm saying is not something that's going to happen in the future. It's happening now. It's the question is, how do we manage these things in a clever way? Because Google in real time was telling me that this square is not that busy. Presumably, it could have told me it's really busy, don't go there. So if you've got situations like Venice, and the Venice situation is quite constrained because of the architecture and the routes that we're using, you can actually introduce a traffic light, not only pricing, but the traffic light system. Say these areas are red, please do not go. These areas are yellow, and these areas are green. It's all about thinking in a clever way and manage the resources. It's really about manage the resources in a clever way. Same thing goes with Medellin or any other place. This place is red, it's dangerous, do not go. This place is green because we manage whatever. This place is yellow. The same thing with typhoons. You know, all of these things are exactly that. So it's all about management. Over-tourism does not exist, Vasilis. You need to know that.
Noted.
All right. Okay, guys. I think our Spanish friend is waiting in Manila or where?
In Vietnam.
Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mungoy.
Thank you very much. Okay.